What a time to be a Warriors fan. Even in a half-convincing victory against the lowly Washington Wizards, it's hard to enjoy anything about it when Steph Curry ends up getting hurt in the final minute of the game. He sprained an ankle after colliding with Jordan Poole in the final minute after playing some great help defense, and the only reason he really had to be there to play that help defense is for some reason Steve Kerr elected and decided to put Dennis Schroeder back into the game despite the fact that he closed a chunk of this game with GP2 guarding Jordan Poole, which worked to perfection. I'm going to try to keep this one short and sweet. As you can see, I'm kind of working backwards here because I'm talking about the end of the game essentially. But yes, there were some changes to close this game where Steve Kerr elected to close this game with Steph Curry, GP2, Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney. Needless to say, you know how I feel about Andrew Wiggins at the 4. But it's manageable against a team like the Wizards, who has Kyle Kuzma at their power forward spot, which is a guy that Andrew Wiggins can actually handle. Because really, Kuzma's true position is also at small forward. The first half of Warriors games continue to be practically unwatchable. Steph Curry is completely and utterly passive. He basically did nothing in the first quarter. In the first 6 minutes of the game, he took one shot. The Warriors had 11 points after the first 6 minutes of the game. Steph Curry had one shot. I wonder why that is. When Steph Curry is passive, the Warriors become passive. And yeah, you score 11 points in the first 6 minutes of the game, you're on pace to score 22 points for the quarter. And they almost did until Moses Moody hit a corner 3 that allowed the team to end the quarter with 25 points, on pace to score 100 points. And then comes the second quarter, and the glorious return of the 4-guard lineups is now in full effect now that GP2 is back in the equation. And it's not going to get any better with Potts due back anytime now. But at least the one good thing about this particular 4-guard lineup is that it is completely Curry-centric, and Steph Curry is very involved whether he's on the ball or off the ball. As you know, when they run the motion offense, particularly in the first quarter and the third quarter, Steph Curry is just completely uninvolved. He's standing in the corner half the time, uninterested in receiving the ball, uninterested in moving off the ball in order to get the ball back so that he can get a shot. And you know, the casuals love to talk about how effective Steph Curry is off the ball, but they clearly don't watch this team with any regularity because Steph Curry really isn't doing anything off the ball. When Steph Curry is moving around constantly trying to relocate in order to get a pass from a teammate so that he can get a shot up, that is an effective Steph Curry, and that is a very scary Steph Curry. Unfortunately, for a chunk of the first and the third quarters, that's not what Steph Curry is doing. He's literally just parked in the corners. And yeah, that's really like watching basketball hell on earth. Steve Kerr's garbage motion offense where his best player is parked in the corner like some one-trick bench pony like his name is Steve Kerr. And the Warriors were in a dogfight for a chunk of this game against the Wizards team that has 6 total wins on the season. They are 6-34, and the Warriors are in a dogfight with this team at home. So I'm watching this game and basically telling myself, you know what? Just get the emotions out of this. This is what it is. The Warriors are just worse than mediocre. And well, somebody had to win this game, and the Warriors managed to win this game because Steph Curry decided to get more aggressive. Thank the heavens, he got a little more aggressive. And unfortunately, I believe somewhere in the third quarter, he aggravated his sprained thumb. And that really stinks. His shot didn't look right after that. But on the flip side, I think it made him be more aggressive attacking the basket, which I feel like he's forgotten about and is something that he's forgotten to do. It's something that he's forgotten that he's capable of. Whether it's the mid-range game, whether it's getting to the cup, being able to mix up his game inside out rather than constantly just throwing up and chucking up 3-point shots all day and night. That makes him a lesser version of himself. But today, he got into the paint copiously, got a lot of layups, got a lot of easy looks. And ultimately, even though he shot 4 of 14 from the 3-point line, he ended up shooting 10 of 22 from the field overall. And interestingly enough, they played some high screen actions for Steph, and a lot of his teammates got a lot of easy looks around the basket, whether it was GP2 or Kevon Looney. God forbid they run some of that stuff for Trace when he plays next to Steph Curry, and they never do because, like I said, to begin the first quarter and the third quarters, when Trace is in the game with Steph Curry, there's no high screen action for Steph Curry. He's just parked in the corner, like I said. And Trace basically never has ample spacing for him to do his thing with two guys going to Steph. And that ankle sprain towards the end of the game for Steph didn't look good, but it didn't look terrible either. So hopefully he'll be ready for the Celtics game on Monday. Just the worst possible timing for him to sprain his ankle pretty good just before having to play a team like the Celtics. I'm not even sure if he'll be available for that game. Curry was not able to finish that final minute, and he was limping pretty decently, so I have a sense that he might have to end up missing that Celtics game. And Draymond made his return for this game, but only managed to play 3 minutes before leaving for good because he felt some tightness in his calf. And that's just very unfortunate. I don't know the severity of that injury, but we're gonna have to hope that it's nothing serious and something that he can come back soon from. And you know, like I said, once again, I just don't understand why Steve Kerr had to throw Dennis Schroeder back into the game. They were operating perfectly well with GP2 in there next to Steph Curry, that defensive unit, GP2 at shooting guard, Moody at small forward, Andrew Wiggins at power forward, and like I said, it's a less than ideal smaller lineup, but against the Wizards it was affordable. GP2 at that point had played 19 minutes in the game, so why is he getting benched? And then why is Dennis Schroeder back in the game? And then he gets screened out of a play, gets completely behind, forcing Steph Curry to play help defense, and then he collides with Jordan Poole and ends up spraining his ankle. I just hate Steve Kerr so much, man. I hate this dude with complete and utter passion. There is no such thing as the Warriors thriving with Steve Kerr as their head coach. The Warriors lead the NBA in clutch minutes, clutch games played. And it doesn't matter what team they play. It could be the Toronto Raptors. It could be the Wizards. It could be the Jazz. It could be just the worst teams in the league. And it doesn't matter. The Warriors end up playing a clutch game against any team because they're one of the worst teams in the league. And that's despite the fact that they have Steph Curry on their team. At least Kerr the Clown didn't close this game with Dennis Schroeder and Buddy Hield on the floor at the same time for no good damn reason. Somehow, some way or another in a game where no Warriors player was in the double digits in the negative, Buddy Hield at some point was a minus 19 in this game. It's just simply unreal. Yeah, ultimately he was minus 12 for the game. 207 from the floor, 104 from the three-point line. Get this guy out of rotation. Get this guy off this team. On more positive notes, Moses Moody really came through in that fourth quarter. Some big-time hustle plays, some big-time buckets. 4 of 7 from the field, 13 points, plus 12. And even got 29 minutes of playing time. Jordan Poole made a triumphant return to Chase Center, but when it mattered the most, GP2 did a really good job against him and really limiting him down the stretch. Dennis Schroeder actually played well in this game next to Steph Curry. I think this is the first time both Steph Curry and Dennis Schroeder had a good game in the same game while playing next to each other. But I have noticed that Kerr has been staggering Curry and Schroeder more. And that's really the best way to utilize these guys. Make sure that Steph Curry is getting enough minutes at the point guard spot because that is his position. That is really his only position. And again, even though Schroeder got starters minutes, I'm glad that ultimately he mostly did not close this game. And again, I'm completely puzzled as to why he came back in the final minute of the game when it was essentially well in hand. When the Warriors are at full strength, I really hope that Dennis Schroeder will not be in a lot of these closing lineups. Because ultimately, it makes Steph Curry's life easier when there's not a tiny guy next to him and forces Steph Curry to the 2. Andrew Wiggins was really strong and steady in this one. 31 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, just stuffing the stat sheet. 12 of 22 from the field, 4 of 10 from the three-point line. I mean, this guy was doing it all tonight. And even though he shot 3 of 6 from the free throw line, I feel like he's just been more forceful inside the paint area, in the post. And again, I feel like in past years, he had been really passive and a little timid inside that paint area. I think he didn't want to get to the free throw line because he had no confidence there, and it changed his game. And now that he doesn't really have the same kind of fear, because his free throw shooting has become better than ever, I feel like he's just playing with more confidence. And obviously, confidence changes everything about your game. I wish I could say the same for Trace. The guy has pretty much been gobbling up any and all rebounds that are available in his vicinity. And on a lot of these rebounds, he could easily just go back up and just put the ball through the rim. But instead of doing that, he looks timid, and oftentimes he's not even looking at the rim after grabbing an offensive rebound. And that just shows a lack of confidence in his offensive game. But again, 15 rebounds in just 24 minutes of play. He's been playing with a lot of force, as I've been saying video after video. And his rebounding and defense in the paint area has just been really good. And that's really good news for the Warriors defense. Kevon Looney also played 24 minutes in this game, and he put up 10 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. And it just boggles my mind that he gets more pick and roll opportunities because he's playing next to an aggressive Steph Curry more than Trace, who is a monster finisher when given the kind of space you can get from a high screen action next to Steph Curry. But these rebounding numbers by this center tandem is ridiculous. 15 rebounds for Trace in 24 minutes, 13 rebounds for Looney in 24 minutes. That's 28 rebounds for those two guys alone. The Warriors had 55 rebounds in this game, and those two guys grabbed more than half of it. A win is a win is a win. The Warriors are now in a three-way tie situation. 9th seed, 10th seed, and the 11th seed all have the same record, 21 wins and 20 losses. As I said in the previous video, the Suns just picked up Nick Richards, who was ridiculously good in his debut game. The Suns beat the Pistons by 4 points. Nick Richards was a plus 22. What that tells me is that if they didn't have Nick Richards in this game, they might have lost this one. So you look at the Western Conference right now and it's just absolutely comical. There's a lot of teams that are just not able to create much separation. Everybody's just eating each other alive. And at least the Warriors have that going for them. And the Warriors have a potential opportunity to create some kind of separation from the bottom ranked teams because they play 7 of their next 8 games at home. But obviously we know how the last home stint went. They went 3-3 at home and they just barely beat the Wizards at home. And now Steph Curry is dealing with both a sprained thumb, which he aggravated in this game, and a sprained ankle. The next 2 games are against the Celtics and the Kings, who have been whooping their ass. And again, who knows what's going on with Draymond. Even though they're on a 2-game winning streak now, I'm not very confident about the next 2 games that are coming up. But we'll see what happens. We'll cover it game by game as needed. That's all I got for now. As always, if you like this content, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, the like button. Always appreciate your comments. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.